If you own an X-Arcade Arcade2TV, this is one of those videos you don't want to skip. New firmware updates can dramatically improve stability, USB compatibility, and improve your overall experience with the product. In this video, I'll show you how to update all three firmware components step by step: the main XR unit, the X-Force Haptics board, and the Gen 2 wireless dongle. Plus a few important tips that can save you real frustration. I'm John, and welcome to Wagner's Tech Talk. When it comes to updating the firmware in the X-Arcade Arcade2TV, there are three different potential types of firmware. There's the main firmware update in the X-Arcade2TV XR unit itself. This is for the main console and handles communications to the devices that you connect to it, either via USB or the Gen 2 wireless dongle. The other two forms of firmware are only necessary depending upon if you've installed the X-Force Haptics kit. If you haven't, then only the first section of this video applies to you. And if you have installed the X-Force Haptics kit, there is a firmware update available now for the main Haptics PCB as well as the Gen 2 wireless dongle. In this video, we'll cover all three types of firmware and how to apply each. Let's start by covering how to update the X-Arcade2TV XR main console unit. First, disconnect the USB-C cable for the LED lights and only connect the USB-B cable to the back of the XR unit. Then plug the opposite end into your Windows PC. The update process is only supported for Windows computers at the present time. Then on the Arcade2TV unit, press and hold the P1 mode button for about 5 seconds until the LED flashes red, which is the keyboard and mouse mode. It may be necessary to repeat this several times for the various modes, but once it flashes red, stop there. Now we'll navigate to the Arcade2TV XR firmware page. I'll place links in the description below. Locate version 1.01.14 or higher of the firmware downloader software and click the link. The file will be downloaded as a RAR or .rar file. Click the download link in the upper left. Next, we'll need the firmware itself. If we scroll down the page, we see there are two versions, 3.62 and 3.64. 3.62 or higher is what you'll want to download. While I don't have any USB stability issues at the present time, I'm going to proceed with version 3.64 to ensure that I don't. Windows may block downloading .bin or bin files. If that happens, click Keep to download the file. Next, go to the Downloads folder, or the folder where you save the file, and double-click on the Arcade2TV.rar file. Then double-click on the executable. If you see this dialog, click More Info and Run Anyway. Then simply follow the prompts to install the Arcade2TV application. Now launch the Arcade2TV software. The keyboard and mouse mode should be on screen. This is the mode that you want to be in for the firmware update. Now click the Firmware Upgrade button, then select the Arcade2TV wired control app that you downloaded and click the Open button. After a brief delay, the firmware will then be written to the unit and restart. Once done, you can close out of the firmware updater, disconnect the USB cable from your PC, and use the Arcade2TV as normal. If you have the X-Force Haptics kit installed on your unit, we'll upgrade that firmware in the next segment. Next, we'll update the firmware on the X-Force Haptics PCB. This is only necessary if you have previously installed or purchased the unit with the X-Force Haptics kit and want to upgrade to the latest firmware. Next, we need to download the X-Force Haptics kit firmware. Again, I'll place a link to this page below. As you scroll down, well, we already have installed the Arcade2TV software version 1.014, so we can skip over that. But if we scroll down further, we'll find the Haptics PCB firmware. For this step, I'll download the latest, version 1.8 of the Haptics PCB software. On the back of the Arcade2TV, disconnect the power cable going to the Haptics kit, then the 3.5mm audio cable, the USB-B cable, and the USB-C cable powering the LED lights. Raise the console to the second position from the top on the pedestal. On one side, using the hex tool included with the kit, remove the two bolts holding the side blocks in place. Be careful with the springs underneath, they do tend to fall out. Then remove the screw at the top, and repeat this step for the opposite side. Now remove the 3 screws from the back of the unit. Locate the firmware upgrade cable that came with the X-Force Haptics kit. It should be a small 4-pin wire that's connected to a USB Type-A cable. Gently raise the top panel and set it to the right side. Now locate the 4-pin firmware upgrade port on the X-Force Haptics PCB. Now plug in the 4-pin connector. It's keyed and can only go one way. Take the opposite end, the USB-A cable, and plug it into your Windows PC. Launch the Arcade2TV software that you just downloaded. Once you plug in the USB-A firmware update cable, you'll see Handshake and Init Data. Click the Firmware Upgrade button, then select the firmware file, which in this case is VR Control Pinball version 1.8 or higher, then click the Open button. The bootloader will then start the firmware upgrade process. This will only take a couple of minutes to complete. You should now see the version being displayed in the lower left, which in this case is version 1.8. You can now close out of the Arcade2TV application and disconnect the USB cable. Now that the firmware update has been completed, disconnect the 4-pin firmware upgrade cable from the Haptics PCB. Slide the back panel over the pedestal. Now raise the unit to the top position and make sure that the panel is fully seated. On one side, insert the side screw, then the 2 hex screws to the sliding block. Don't screw it in all the way, you want the block to be able to spring outward. Verify that the longer side is at the top and the shorter end at the bottom. Then repeat for the opposite side. Now install the 3 screws at the back, and congratulations! The X-Force Haptics firmware step is complete. In the next segment, we'll upgrade the Gen 2 wireless dongle. Now we'll set up the Gen 2 dongle with the latest firmware. There is a small USB-C to USB-A adapter that was included in the firmware update cable pack. That is the adapter that you'll want to use for this next step. Next, we'll go to the Gen 2 wireless upgrade page. Link below to this as well. At the top, it discusses the Gen 1 dongle that came with the Arcade2TV, but down towards the bottom are the links and information for the Gen 2 dongle, which came with the X-Force Haptics kit and also available separately on the X Gaming website. I'll use the latest 3.43 version 2 firmware and click that link to download it. Plug the dongle into an available USB port on your computer. It won't work if you press and hold the button down. Just insert it into the port and it should blink. Start the Arcade2TV software version 1.01.14 or higher. Now click the Firmware Upgrade button and select the Arcade2TV dongle pinball version 3.43 version 2 or higher bin file and click the Open button. You'll see a few quick messages at the top and the firmware update will proceed. This one will take a few minutes. Once done, you'll see the version in the lower left. Then just close out of the Arcade2TV software. Now you can remove the dongle from your computer. Now if you need to repair the dongle to your Arcade2TV, just make sure the USB-C power cable is plugged into your Arcade2TV, and then plug the dongle into your device and press and hold the button for 3 to 5 seconds and it should pair just fine. I have just a few quick tips to share with you. If you're using the Quest 2, the Gen 2 dongle can't be plugged in with the 3.5mm cable connected. It's easily fixed by using this USB-C extender adapter. Just plug it into the dongle and the adapter into the headset, and now there's plenty of clearance. Now, I haven't heard any feedback on the 3.5mm audio cable while it was connected to the Quest 2, but once I connected the cable to my portable monitor, I did. The issue may be with my monitor, but if you experience the issue, it's easily solved with a ground loop isolator like this one. This likely isn't the best way to test it, but for demonstration, this works well. Both audio levels are set to normal room ambience. I've used this magnetic cup holder for years and it works well under normal conditions, but let's stress it out a bit. Here's a full can of Fanta being dropped in the cup holder near the brim. It just barely moves down. However, what happens above the brim? And the last tip. If you want to dim or completely turn off the LED lights on the Arcade2TV, you can press and hold the P1 mode plus X button at the same time. Press and hold the P1 turbo button and the X button to make them brighter again. Well, that's all I have for this video. I hope it's been helpful to you. If so, I'd appreciate it if you let me know by clicking the like button. And if you appreciate concise content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And with that, I look forward to talking with you again very soon.